Even today, pristine landscapes and untamed wilderness can still be found in national parks, which preserve and protect the beauty of nature. The world's first national park was established in 1872 at Yellowstone in the west of the United States. We'll meet people who gave up everything to live here.
There is only one place in the world for me, Yellowstone Park. I love it, and that's why I'm here.
And experience their everyday lives, which visitors never see.
When you look at the diversity of habitats, the intactness of the ecosystem, it truly makes this place unique across the entire globe.
1 year spent in a place which imparts a totally new awareness of life on our planet. The park is sleeping, the locals say, when in winter, by and large, Yellowstone closes its gates at temperatures of up to 20 below. For 6 months, frost has the national park firmly in its grip. The few people who are out and about at this time of year wear uniform. We're with a team of rangers who look after one of North America's very special inhabitants.
Why is she by herself? Yeah.
A female bison alone in this icy world. We could almost reach out and touch her thick, warming coat. It's a unique encounter right at the start of our visit. Huge herds of bison characterize the west of North America for centuries. The buffalo provided the Indians with everything they needed until white settlers arrived and all but wiped out the species. Yellowstone has managed to breed 5,000 buffalo from a mere 21 animals that survived. Rick Wallen from Montana heads the park's bison project. Experts have been studying the animals' behavior for many years. To obtain data on their movements, they have fitted some 40 bison with GPS collars. Today, a young buffalo will be given a new collar.
I think what we're going to do now is send those two in to see if we have a target. And then we'll go up in here and find some cover and watch from up back here. And that way we won't have too many people making it look like a wolf pack coming in to chase them.
Two of the rangers are looking for a suitable animal to sedate with a tranquilizer gun.
The calmer they are when we get to 35 meters, the better the capture will go.
The rangers want to dart a cow bison about 2 years old, and now they've only got one shot. A landscape of fire and ice and a unique fauna have made Yellowstone one of Earth's most famous natural wonders. The park lies in the northwest of the United States, in the middle of the Rocky Mountains, the biggest range in North America. Covering an area of almost 9,000 square kilometers, Yellowstone is the 8th largest of a total of 59 national parks in the US. No other place on our planet has more hot springs, iridescent pools and geysers. The biggest mountain lake in North America lies in the heart of the national park. This 2,500-meter high plateau is surrounded by the soaring peaks of the Rockies. In 1978, UNESCO declared the Yellowstone National Park to be part of the world's natural heritage. It is one of the biggest natural ecosystems still found on our planet. Zuzana Sinai from Hamburg has made this unique wilderness her home.
The magic of the park is its wild nature, and there's no season in which it is wilder than in winter. You feel small and you feel part of the whole. You feel the soul of Yellowstone and you are part of it. Living in nature changes you, and I think you assume a kind of protector role, because you see how nature is being suppressed all over the world, and how wrong that is.
Susanna Sinai gave up everything to realize her dream. Together with her husband Ken, she shows visitors the park's hinterland. The two enjoy the winter silence. Occasionally, even they find something that surprises them, like this stash of antlers.
Oh my God, look at that. That's quite the pile.
Look around for more. There may be others.
Oh,
Somebody
look
stashed
at
these
that.
here.
What a
This is-
pile.
Yeah, this is somebody's.
Somebody's going to come back for this.
This is definitely somebody stashing them to steal them.
I know, yes.
Down at the bottom, there's some big
Wow.
ones. There's some big ones. I don't
The
know.
moose.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's unusual.
Deer shed their antlers every year. With a herd of around 4,000 animals, that amounts to quite a pile, and good business for trophy hunters. Rick Wallen's team has been successful. The tranquilizing dart has sedated a young cow bison. The rangers have half an hour in which to carry out numerous tests. Blood samples and ultrasound measurements of the animal's fat layer will tell them more about the young buffalo's health.
How are we doing on all of the things we need to get done? We've got a...
I've got all the color information written down. We're working on ultrasound for body condition.
All right, so the only thing we have left is the body condition score, deploy the radio collar, and reverse.
This is a GPS collar we're about to put on this bison. It takes a point about every 2 hours. Gives you UTM's lat long position and temperature and some other information, and all logs it in this box here. And that's where it will be until we catch her again.
The high-tech collar the young buffalo will soon wake up with weighs around 2 kilograms. Officially, the buffalo will now be known as L2, the number on her collar. Not exactly a nice name for a lady, so we're going to call her Bonnie. Bonnie the bison. Still groggy, Bonnie sets off again. Later, data from the collar will enable the rangers to follow her movements. It's not only conservationists who focus on deer, bears and elk. So do hunters. More people own a handgun or a rifle in the United States than in any other country in the world.
This firearm is used for smaller varmints, anything from ground squirrels, rabbits, all the way up through coyotes and wolves. This is a Ruger American. This is a very good deer and antelope cartridge. They're big enough they could knock down an elk. Here is a Remington. These are centerfire rifles. This would be used for anything from deer, elk, as I said, moose or bison.
The hunting season runs from October through to March. Then hunters can shoot anything that leaves the confines of the park.
I had a group in yesterday from Texas. You know, they came up to this area. They were hunting just outside of Yellowstone Park and got 3 nice big bulls, they said. And so we get a lot of people from different parts of the country that come here in this area for hunting.
The founders of the park, along with geologist Ferdinand Hayden, undoubtedly had something different in mind. The story of the Yellowstone National Park began in 1871 with an expedition commissioned by the government. Washington was being assailed by conservationists and railway magnates who wanted travelers to be able to enjoy the magnificent scenery in the West. In the end, the president himself was also impressed by the landscape photographs taken by William Henry Jackson. On March the 1st, 1872, Ulysses S. Grant signed a law making the Yellowstone area the world's first national park. For the benefit and enjoyment of the people, as the inscription on the Roosevelt Arch at the north entrance to the park still says. When the snows finally melt in the park, the waters of the Yellowstone River swell 10 times over within the space of a few days. And for the park's animals, the supply of food is again more plentiful.
Go ahead, 4-4.
This is a radio check.
You are coming in loud and crisp.
What we are doing here now is going out on patrol on the highways in the early morning to see whether there are any bison on them. We put up signs to protect the animals as well as people, because road accidents occur time and again.
The start of a day's work for Andreas Hofer. The young Austrian has joined the Buffalo Field Campaign as a volunteer. So has Stephanie C. from Montana.
The park is now open, so there's a lot of tourists coming through. There's a lot of semi-18-wheeler, big truck traffic moving through here constantly. This road connects to Idaho, so there's a lot of interstate traffic that comes through, and some people aren't used to seeing wild bison along the highways. So it's really important that we warn people. We're doing the best that we can, but sometimes bison get killed on the road. We're trying to prevent that.
Time and again, animals come out of the nearby park. And time and again, where humans and bison cross paths, dangerous situations arise. A tent to sleep in and wild animals as neighbors. Ideal study conditions for Carsten Hoyer and Harvey Locker. Hoyer is a wildlife biologist and filmmaker. Locker is a lawyer and an internationally respected expert on national parks. Both men come from Canada.
Really exciting thing for me about wild nature, and particularly places where all the pieces of wild nature are in the landscape, is that it has a powerful feeling. And it also makes me realize that I'm one species among many on planet Earth, as opposed to the dominant one. I'm one of many.
Hoyer and Locker launched the Y2Y initiative, as it's known. Y2Y is a concept for interlinking protected areas and national parks in the United States and Canada. The plan is to create a huge corridor from Yellowstone Park in the south to the Yukon in Canada in the north. With the help of eco-bridges and underpasses, the Y2Y visionaries want to enable wild animals to roam unimpeded.
A network of reserves is all born out of the realization that if we don't do that, if we just think about parks alone, things are going to go extinct. These wild animals that we're so lucky to have in Yellowstone, lucky to have in places like Banff, they actually need to remain connected one to another.
Every spring, Hoyer and Locker wander through the region and study the behavior of animals outside the park. It's now in particular that elk, deer, and pronghorn antelope leave the protection of Yellowstone time and again to look for food in low-lying areas where the snow has already thawed. The juicy grassland also attracts bison, much to the dismay of farmers who are worried that the buffalo will transmit the brucellosis virus to their livestock. The disease can result in miscarriages and stillbirths.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good. What's going on here?
We're on a piece of private property just outside the boundary of Yellowstone National Park, and some of these animals are allowed to naturally migrate out of the park into winter wildlife range, which is this area, lower elevation, less snow, more availability for grass. However, some of society is not particularly happy about these animals being on their private property. Therefore, the state of Montana will assist private landowners with moving the animals off of their property and back towards the park boundary, as you can see is happening right now.
The wilderness needs protection, but it knows no limits. It would be wonderful if nature could be left to control herself, but bison roaming wherever they like are too threatened. They need to go home. For 20 years now, the forests of Yellowstone have again been the habitat for an animal which stirs emotions more than any other inhabitant in the park. 70 years ago, the wolf had been wiped out here. It was not until 1995 that scientists managed to introduce a small pack of wolves from Canada. The animals thrived and reproduced quickly, and not only that, they changed the entire ecosystem of the park, a phenomenon known to scientists as a trophic cascade. Before the wolves came, the park was overpopulated with deer and elk. They had no enemies and were destroying its stocks of young trees. When the wolves were introduced and began to prey on deer and elk, the park's vegetation was able to recover. Birds returned, and since there were no trees to be felled, so did the beaver. Biospheres were formed for otters and fish. The wolves also killed coyotes. As a result, the number of hares and mice increased. This in turn attracted hawks, martens, and raccoons. Most astonishingly of all, though, the wolves also changed the course of the park's rivers because the trees along their banks stabilized the earth, so there was less erosion. Thus, the wolves not only changed the park's ecosystem, they even changed its face. Post Office is the name of the camp where the Buffalo Field Campaign's volunteers live. Young people who come from all over the world. Working round the clock on a fixed shift system, they look after the bison every day. Since it was launched in 1997, the conservation campaign has attracted some 30,000 helpers who support it either actively or in the form of donations. They document on film how bison are driven off time and again. The material is put on the internet to publicize what is happening.
We've seen terrible things. I mean, a lot of days on hazing operations, we come home in tears. We've seen bison run into barbed wire fence, caught up in barbed wire fence. We've seen bison run through swollen rivers, little tiny calves trying to keep up with their moms that can't sustain themselves in that current. They're not strong enough. And, you know, we've seen them being run for hours and hours and miles, up to 20 miles in one day. So there's a lot of really bad stuff that goes on, and it's all federally funded. U.S. taxpayers are paying for this iconic animal to be abused, and people don't want it, but the livestock industry is very powerful and they're still in charge.
After all, in 2019, the U.S. meat industry had a turnover of around $140 billion.
Der Blick auf das Bayernwetter bei uns natürlich wie gewohnt immer zuerst. Kurz nach 10:30 ist es jetzt und in der Nacht regnet es.
News from home on the radio and the Yellowstone River on the doorstep. Patrick Andrus lives in Gardiner, a small town of 800 inhabitants close to the north entrance to the park. A qualified industrial mechanic, he earns a living by taking visitors on rafting tours on the Yellowstone. In springtime, he gets his boats ready with an enthusiasm that is infectious.
The Yellowstone is the longest undammed river outside Alaska. For the first 5 miles of its length, the river flows next to the park. So when you travel down it, you can look across into the park and see animals, buffalo, deer, and antelope right next to the water. When we sail down the river, we see bald eagles soaring above us. It's just spectacular, fantastic.
In spring, Gardiner too slowly comes to life. Many of its inhabitants earn a living from the 3 million or so tourists who visit the park every year. Harvey and Carsten have come to Gardiner to meet Austin Stonnell, a student who posted a short film on YouTube which has already registered several million hits.
What's going on? Do you travel this road a lot?
Yeah, I come this way every day, coming from work. And I saw this big herd of elk. And I always have my camera, so I went to grab it and started filming.
A huge herd of deer crosses the highway and moves on. But one young animal gets stuck.
And this is barbed wire, and it's just so painful to watch.
Yeah, geez, that one is trashing her.
This is really compelling to us because it shows both the fact that the animals need to cross the road, and it also shows how a fence can be a barrier to them crossing the road.
And there are areas in the region already where there are wildlife overpasses or underpasses, essentially these eco bridges, if you will, and fencing that actually funnels the animals to them. And wherever they've been built, they've been highly, highly successful.
It's a happy end to a sticky situation, and the entire herd has actually waited for the youngster. As long as no obstacles present themselves, the animals settle where they feel most at ease. In this case, in the garden of a family of 4 who have moved here from Chicago. So this kind of peaceful coexistence really is possible. The man of the house explains the rules to us.
Well, they're wild animals, so we try to be careful. That's about as close as I'm comfortable, you know. It's a constant dance, you know. If they're close, we go inside and maybe we wait for them to pass, or open and close the garage door and let them run away a little bit. And but you have to treat them with respect. You know, there's grizzly bears in the trees here and bison in your yard. That's part of living here.
At the park's headquarters, Rick Wallen is evaluating the data on the small herd of bison which he has collected since the winter. The results of the blood tests have come back from the laboratory. Bonnie the bison's blood sample was also analysed, and Rick is surprised by what he reads.
We just got the results back, and it turns out that this young female that we put the collar on was a 3-year-old, and she's pregnant, likely for the first time. And so if all goes well, she will have her first calf in late April or early May.
Summer is a long time in coming in Yellowstone. It doesn't get warm until June. On average, the maximum temperature is no more than 27 degrees, but the sun shines so permanently that the Yellowstone River loses its power. Incidentally, the park is named after the river which the Hidatsa Indians called Yellowstone because of the color of the rock it cuts through. There have been trekking tours in Yellowstone ever since it was founded. Susanna Zinai organizes sustainable hikes. Together with her colleague Linda, she looks for new routes. Susanna uses llamas as pack animals for provisions and tents because their toes have no negative impact on the trails. On her tours, this German conservationist passes through one of the few remaining wildernesses on our planet, and she must expect at any moment to come face to face with an animal that might be dangerous.
Here we have a good example. A bear came down this way and rolled this rock to one side to get at the ants and the other insects living under it. As you can see, it is quite a hefty rock, so I reckon that it was a fairly big bear.
Und von daher nehme ich mal an, dass das auch ein ziemlich großer Bär war.
Something seems to be bothering Domingo the llama.
It was a black bear, not very big, but not very small either. Like any good bear, he did the right thing and moved off.
Scared?
Me? No. Maybe Domingo was a bit. No, everything's fine.
Summertime is ideal for experiencing the park from a very special perspective. Jack Hart is a keen amateur pilot. Now and again, he takes on transport jobs which see him flying his Cessna over the Yellowstone.
Traffic, Cessna 2873 Charlie on the 45, runway 19, full stop, Yellowstone.
Traffic sky 7422 on the 45 to enter.
Jack is flying over the biggest time bomb on our planet, a supervolcano which has erupted 3 times over the last 2 million years. The last eruption occurred 630,000 years ago.
When this volcano blew in this area, it left a hole, which became the park. And it is surrounded by mountains on 2/3 of it, and that is called the caldera. The winds come into this area and then go down, and it affects flying. It can make it very dangerous, but with the heat of the Earth, the crust is about 2 to 5 miles thick here. We have a lot of heat rising, which causes the air to be turbulent, and that affects our flying. It also affects our weather, and you have to take that into consideration every time that you fly.
The gigantic magma chamber provides the energy for more than 300 geysers and 10,000 hot springs. They are the research field of renowned geologist Kenneth Sims from the University of Wyoming in Laramie. He regularly takes samples.
There's a lot of work that's done in this area to understand how life can live in extreme environments like this. Real hot temperatures, real acidic conditions, lots of acid in the pools and such. And so we use this understanding to understand life here on Earth.
Some people call Yellowstone the Earth's hot heart. It's a giant cauldron which emits steam in 1,000 places, and seismologists register between 1 and 3,000 minor earthquakes every year. The Earth's crust in the park is particularly thin. Lying a mere 5 to 15 kilometers beneath the surface is a massive magma chamber with an estimated volume of 4,000 cubic kilometers. Bubbling in it are up to 400 cubic kilometers of molten rock. This makes the reservoir the biggest magma chamber ever discovered. The Grand Prismatic Spring is probably the most scintillating sign of volcanic activity. Scientists believe that life once originated in springs like this. Different types of microorganism and bacterium make themselves visible in bands of various colors.
It's such a large volcano, and it hosts this diverse variety of geology and life that you just don't see in any place in the world, a collection like this. 50% of the world's geysers are here because of all the water that comes from the Gallatin Mountains. You look back in there, you see these fantastic mountains all around, and they provide a lot of the water that ends up here in the Yellowstone system. And then on top of it, you get to look at life in one of the most extreme environments and understand how life has evolved.
It's late August, and Rick Wallen is on his way to Lamar Valley, where the herds of bison like to congregate, especially in the mating season.
You can see many of these young calves are no longer that reddish color. At about 4 months of age, they begin to have their hair turn to a darker brown, much like all of the adults. They blend in more and they're less vulnerable to the predators that way.
Using a special antenna, Rick is searching for Bonnie the bison. If she's within a radius of 1 kilometer, he can locate her easily. Data collected so far shows that the young mother has roamed a great deal over the last 8 months, but she has never left her territory, the northeast of the park, and has usually stayed around Lamar Valley. In the summer months, the bison find ideal conditions here. There's plenty to eat and lots of prospective mating partners. Bison like to find a new partner every year.
I think I've spotted her. She's over across the river, but it looks like there's an adult male following her around, so she must be getting close to breeding time.
At the same time, however, Bonnie the bison is caring for her firstborn. She will wean the calf for a year and defend it ferociously against all enemies. At the age of 2 or 3, the youngster will reach maturity and be able to become a mother herself.
Bonnie's going around trying to put on fat reserves, eating as much as possible, taking care of the young calf that she just produced, and had a couple of months ago. So she's got to watch out for that calf and now find a mate for the summer, for this breeding season, and get pregnant once again so that she can produce another calf.
Patrick Andrus too has to provide for the winter. It's in the summer that he earns most of his income.
I'm going to have 2 leaders sitting up front in the boat. And you guys, you can be sitting up front and kind of be in sync. So the whole key is to be in sync.
One dinghy can take up to 8 passengers.
It all happens at once. People want to be taken on the river, so I'm working every day. The summer is so short, it's like living in a trance. Summer comes and then it's gone again. I don't get a day's rest. It's a really intensive time.
All right, now dig in, guys. Otherwise we're gonna miss our turn.
The sun's setting, it's warm, the water is nice, and it's fun. This is the life.
Spaß am Leben.
The Yellowstone National Park extends over 3 US states. Most of the park lies in Wyoming. Small areas of it are located in Montana and Idaho. That's where Jack Hart has to pick up a consignment. Because the weather conditions are constantly changing, pilots like Jack fly either in the morning or the evening.
In all the years that I've done this, to see hundreds of buffalo or thousands of elk move through a meadow is a pretty unique experience. You can see a grizzly bear, or you could see a lot of animals moving in their own environment. It's a beautiful experience to see that in its original form.
Yellowstone Lake lies 2,357 meters above sea level. Fed by 5 rivers, it's the park's most important water reservoir. The lake is the scene of a dramatic fight for survival. David Halleck, the park's head ranger, has to make regular checks on the progress of an arduous rescue operation.
Good morning, guys.
Morning.
How's the fishing?
Doing well.
For some 30 years now, lake trout have been a problem in the park. Probably introduced by tourists, lake trout breed rapidly and feed on the young of the indigenous cutthroat trout. So fishermen now catch lake trout to protect stocks of the local breed.
This is a Yellowstone cutthroat trout, one that was accidentally captured in the net. And you can see it looks very different than the lake trout. These lake trout can become huge. They can be 30 pounds or more. And this is a pretty big Yellowstone cutthroat trout.
The alien trout is killed and the local species thrown back into the water. In this way, the rangers want to ensure that a delicate balance is re-established.
We had a large number of bears that were feeding on the Yellowstone cutthroat trout as they swam upstream to spawn, just like a salmon does. And now we see very few, we see almost no grizzly bears feeding in those streams. As the grizzly bears have fewer fish to capture and eat in the streams surrounding the lake, they have switched their prey items to elk calves around the area.
The dead trout are thrown back into the lake as food for its other inhabitants. It's mid-September and the days are getting noticeably shorter. Aspens, maples and poplars are preparing for the winter, transporting precious chlorophyll into their trunks and branches where it is safe from frost. The Indian summer has arrived. In the park, Susanna Zinai and a friend are trying to focus their telescopes on some wolves.
At this time of year, we keep a particularly close eye out for the wolves. Outside of the park, the hunting season has begun, and we want to make sure that the wolves we know here in the north of the Yellowstone Park are still all present and haven't been shot. That's really important.
2317, come to Nature Trail, there's a wolf.
Copy, thank you.
Susanna and her companion know only too well what they are fighting for, because just 2 years ago, one wolf, 06 female, was shot by a hunter the moment she left the park. Tragically, she was an alpha animal. After her death, the pack fell apart. For wolves, animals which always live and hunt as a community, this was a disaster, one which must not be repeated. After a few minutes, the two women reached the location where other wolf spotters have seen an animal.
A lovely big bear sitting right on some carrion, making sure no one steals it. Now and again it looks up to see if anything's approaching. Then it lies on the carcass again. Bears slightly bury carrion they have found and then lie on it and go to sleep. The wolf nearby is waiting. On its own, it stands no chance. It's a she-wolf and the pack has left. They don't see any way they can get at the bear's food. But she's sitting there and waiting, and thinking that maybe she will get a chance after all. But I think the bear will win. He's sleeping this one through. Great, very nice.
Right on the border of the park, we meet one of the hunters. Bill Hope's family have lived on this site for 7 generations. Bill earns a living as a farmer and as a hunting guide. Now in his 60s, Bill Hope doesn't like wolves. He makes short work of them, especially when they attack his animals.
The wolves just came in the middle of the night. I went down that morning at daylight to feed the sheep, and there was 18 of them dead. They'd grab them right here. They'd grab them right there under the throat, and they'd just rip their throat out. And the baby lambs, they'd bite them right over the back, right there, and crush their ribs and their lungs. The state Fish and Game Department issued me some kill-on-site permits, and they gave me the right to kill 2 wolves on that piece of property. But it took about a month to get one of them, because they just, I mean, you don't see them. They come in the night, you know. And I just happened to catch them down there right at daylight one morning, and I killed one of them. And the other one got on the other side of our fence out of our property, so I couldn't shoot it.
In the park, the she-wolf has given up and moved on. A natural spectacle viewed at close range, a moment which brings to mind the question of whether we experience and treat animals and plants as fellow creatures. The grizzly, it seems, feels safe again and reckons he can move away for a bit. But he didn't expect 2 other robbers to be lurking nearby, just waiting for a chance like this. Susanna Zenai has decided that she needs to have a word with Bill Hope, who is a dyed-in-the-wool hunter.
So when they put the wolves in, everybody agreed, even all the people who were against.
Is there any chance of the 2 coming to an understanding?
My question is, how is that right that they can come in and have no control on the number of a predator that ruined my business? I mean, I still outfit, I still take hunters, but I had to move 150 miles north of here and rent a place to hunt.
Isn't there something that's more non-lethal, maybe, to live with them? Do we have to shoot them in order to control them? Isn't there another way?
What is the other way?
Well, there are other ways. You know, there are people who, a lot of ranchers have adopted other ways to patrol their cattle. You know, to just.
They've done that. I've done that. We've tried that. I've done that.
I think that Yellowstone is a natural place where predator has its place, where prey has its place, and the wolves and the elk and the other prey animals are in the process right now to find a balance.
I think nature will balance its way out, but I believe man is just as big a part of nature as the wolves or the elk or the buffalo or anything else. Mm-hmm. Man is just as big and as long as man can keep the thought that we're not here to eliminate wolves. We can live with wolves, but it has to be a reasonable number. Mm-hmm. It has to be a reasonable number.
And in your view, the number has to be controlled by killing.
You know, I guess if there's any other way, I'd like to hear it, and I'm going to continue to do what I want to do on my property. Mm-hmm. And that's the way it is.
The wilderness needs protecting, and it knows no limits. It's not about demonizing its opponents, but of revealing how the wilderness enables us to experience our own existence anew. Yellowstone, the world's national parks, and visions like Y2Y show time and again how the balance in nature can be attained for all creatures that live in it, despite the challenges to be met.
I feel one of the more serious threats to our park is coming into the park and taking away the natural resources, whether it be a mineral or whether it be actual energy and geothermal heat.
We've had a dramatic increase in the number of days in the park that the temperatures are hotter. We see far few days where the temperatures are very cold during the wintertime, and I have no doubt that this change in the climate will dramatically affect the resources of the park.
My wish is for Yellowstone to be protected forever, because we need the park. We all need it.